influence of photography on the world of art. This is the first permanent photo, 1824, taken by Nicephore Nitzsche. He, in turn, partnered with Louis Daguerre, who we see here, and in 1839, Louis Daguerre copyrighted the first daguerreotype. In the same year, Henry Fox Talbot came up with the calotype, and next we see a calotype type portrait compared to a daguerreotype portrait. In daguerreotypes, the people had to stay very still. They even had head mounts to keep their heads still. In 1890, George Eastman invents actual film. His motto is, "You push the button, we do the rest." Following Kodak, we see Henry Peach Robinson, who was really into combination printing. He combined multiple negatives to make one picture. Following him, we have Edward Muybridge, who did motion studies, as well as studies of the human body in motion. This influenced painters, Marcel Duchamp for one. After that, we see the Lumiere brothers, the fathers of motion picture. This was one of their first films, where a train came off the screen and people ran. They came up with the cinematograph in 1895. Screwed that up. These brothers invented the cinematograph in 1895, as well as autochrome in 1903. This influenced silent films, Charlie Chaplin for one. In 1914, here we see Alfred Stieglitz, who was a major influence in photography, 1864 to 1946. His Equivalence series, where he shot clouds. Also his Studio 291 from 1907 to 1917. He dated, or was very friendly with, Georgia O'Keeffe, who was influenced by this photographer. Here's one of her paintings, New York City. Stieglitz married Georgia O'Keeffe, who was a painter, and she was very influenced by photography. Here's a picture of New York City. Next we have Mans and Godowsky, who invented Kodachrome, color photography. Here's a nice film still. This is The Lone Ranger, 1956. The next major influence was Man Ray, with his solarization and his rayographs, these experiments in photography. Also, we see at this time, during the Great Depression, Dorothea Lange, her migrant mother. These photos were also shot in color. Here's Walker Evans, New Orleans, and another Walker Evans in color. It was shocking to people to see color during this time. The next influence was Moholy-Nagy in the 1920s with his Bauhaus School. Here we see a Hasselblad 120 roll film camera and a 35mm camera. These made possible street photography by Gary Callahan. And next we see Gary Winogrand, street photography also. Edward Weston was famous for his form studies, his nudes, and his peppers, bananas, etc. Next we have William Eggleston, who did his first solo show in color, 1975. He was adamant about color. His friend was Andy Warhol, and we can see possibly where that influence of color came from. The next influence in photography was superrealism, or photorealism. This is Chuck Close, his portraits. Here we see the importance of personal photos, the portability of the camera. Smith and Boyle next started working on the CCD, the charged coupled device. Here we see the very first one, which made possible the Sony Mavica in 1981. Following that, in 1994, the Apple Quick 100, and the cameras progressively got better and better with the Canon PowerShot, until people at home are taking pictures of their kids doing zany things. The first digital SLRs, and digital imaging equipment, making possible nearly anything